So I haven't played Project Zomboid in well over a year, and I think it's time to change that. The last time I horsed around with Project Zomboid, I was having some fun experimenting with fire, and made a few videos involving fire. I certainly had fun watching things burn. But a few months ago, I got a comment on one of those videos that kinda stuck with me. The commenter said in bold text, aka the gentleman's all caps, the fire can and will spread indefinitely, and can will burn down the entire map. Okay, if you're the kind of gamer that always tries to play in the most optimal way and can't imagine sacrificing a little loot to have some fun, I could see why that would be bad. But for people such as myself, who started to get dizzy with excitement when the incredibly rare loot setting was added, for people like myself who thrive on chaos and suffering for any sort of progress, what is the saying the kids use these days? Don't threaten me with a good time. And thus, with the giddy notion of the possibility of fires endlessly burning the map, turning all the potential loot into a wasteland of char and ash, I had an even better idea. What if I tried to see how far I can make it into a game of Project Zomboid while only using fire to kill? No knives, no shoes, just flames. Taking up the torch for this challenge is one Duhart Gerard, man of flames, first of his name, but he prefers to just go by Dewey. Now, rolling a character for this challenge is a bit different than usual. Cast your gaze upon all these professions that provide absolutely useless weapon skills. We won't be needing any of them. Instead, Dewey is going to be the humble engineer. Not really a useful profession if you're playing the game properly, but for this scenario, it has one advantage that I want to utilize: the firebomb. This run is going to live and die on how easily Dewey can get a fire started. And with flames consuming much of the loot, I need every advantage I can get. Now, while the common Molotov that any character can make requires the use of glass bottles to create, the ability to make fire bombs also adds the plastic water bottle into the mix of objects I can use to make a fire. And the fire bomb also has the advantage of not needing to use a lighter to set it off. As for the rest of the traits, I'm going to be leaning into strength and fitness, with the traits to carry more and have faster inventory speeds as the primary characteristics. And then pick a bunch of negative skills that will probably not even come into play at all. Pacifist? Who cares about weapon games if you're not using weapons? Fear of blood? As if. No weapons, no splatter. Boil that blood to ash! Okay, the build is locked in, let's go. I'm gonna be spawning into March Ridge because March Ridge. I wanna watch it burn. And I'm also running on insane zombie population. Okay, so Dewey has spawned into the post office building in the center of March Ridge, but I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. This is really like the 20th attempt I've had at starting this challenge, because getting a fire started without killing any zombies is kind of a challenge. So ideally you need to have a bit of luck to have everything you need to get one roaring in your starter home. I can think of 3 ways to get one going from the starter building. 1, get lucky and have a bottle of bourbon and a lighter in the house and make a Molotov. 2, start burning some food in the oven and sit around for days maybe waiting for it to ignite. Or 3, find a microwave and stick a fork or other metal object into it. Given that many buildings have a microwave in it, and the microwave ignites very quickly, the microwave start is what I'm aiming for. And boy howdy, the break room of the post office has a microwave in it. I looted all the food from the break room and placed the spoon I found in the microwave. Now, since all this is going to burn down, I spent a few moments creeping around the post office looting what I would need in the short term. A smutty magazine, some bleach bottles to store water in, an empty bottle and a lighter for Molotovs. You know, the essentials. Hell, I even found bourbon, which means I could just make a Molotov to get things started. But damn it, my heart was set on using a microwave, so I'm using the damn microwave. I wasn't sneaky enough, and soon the undead noticed me in the building, and quickly they were inside it. Time to start the party. I got the first undead woman into the break room, and the microwave fire started. Started on a single tile, so I attempted to push her into it, failing. But I should mention some additional microwave strategy if you ever want to try this yourself. You can move the microwave out to a space along the outside wall of a building, and it will still work. Easier to lure some zombies into it this way. And if you throw some alcoholic drinks into the microwave as well, it will go off like a bomb instead of the weak little single flame. Beer cans would probably be the best, as all the other alcohol comes in Molotov-ready glass bottles. But I hadn't found any cans of beer, so I ended up running around for a bit until the fire naturally spread into the hallway. Then it was easy to lure this woman through it and set her on fire. With the first fire spreading, my goal was to scream endlessly to lure in as much fuel as possible for my fire. I went to open the community center's doors to help get more of the undead drawn out of the building when I got attacked by a drop zombie. Oh, that was close. The initial burning was going just swell, but Dewey's voice started getting a little hoarse. Then he remembered that cars have horns. And the horns are much louder than his biggest yelling voice. Oh, and boy howdy, did that honk not bring all the undead to my little block of flames. By midnight, 1,100 zombies had perished to the flames. But that wasn't enough! A second honking brought yet another wave of fresh undead into my kill zone. At 1 a.m. after 13 hours of juking zombies, Dewey went for a hero's maneuver which resulted in him tripping. But it's okay, he only scraped his palm on the ground. He bandaged it on the go and continued with the dance. Then again at 4:30 a.m., another panic moment when he got blindsided by a zombie. The zombie may have wounded his head, but don't worry friends, the infection was not passed along to old Dewey this day. The morning light came and the horde was finally dwindling in size. So Dewey stuck to the parking lot behind the post office and shepherded the remaining zombies to their smoldering end. 24 consecutive hours of juking the flaming undead, and Dewey had finally finished the first round of flames, leaving 1,706 corpses smoldering near the March Ridge post office. I started checking the block for any remaining loot and found a gas can in the back of the van. Didn't find anything but a straggler in the post office that I evaded, but Dewey was real tired from burning zombies for an entire day, so I intended to take a nap in this pickup truck.
Oh my god!
Well, I guess he snored too much and drew the attention of some nearby stragglers, and now he has a nice neck laceration. But don't worry, friends, the infection was not passed along to old Dewey this day. I thought maybe I could break their legs and then sneak away, but that strategy didn't work as more stragglers started to appear. I crept around, quickly looting what I could and hoping to lose the stragglers, but they just kept appearing.
Holy crap!
Well, I guess it was time for more fire. I honked a few more horns during this burn as well. Better to draw in and burn up as many as possible, as I currently had no more means to start another fire. At 6:30, the second wave of fire had ended, and in just a little under 2 days, Dewhart Dewey Gerard defeated 2,069 zombies with only fire. In this interlude, I siphoned some gas from this blue car and made another Molotov with the fuel, but had to flee when yet another straggler appeared. And another. And another. My annoyance with stragglers was growing by the straggle, but it was okay, for I have no one to blame but myself by abiding to my fire-only rule. Eventually I managed to stealth away from all of them, and found a quick refuge in the secluded confines of the bathroom in the March Ridge laundromat. Leaving the still peacefulness of the bathroom, I found the stragglers had returned. Then more stragglers, and then more stragglers. Soon there were once again too many stragglers, so I set out to the fields to do the needful. Only a 5-hour burn this time, bringing the number of crispy corpses up to 2,243. I stopped at the gas station to take the fuel and make as many Molotovs as I could with the bottles I found in the trash. And in the burned out grocery store next to the pumps, I found a few shelves still intact. They mostly held dry goods, but in the back was a refrigerated unit still humming that was full of eggs and dairy. Cheese energy. But there was a straggler on the upper floor who chased me away. Dewey was tired, so I sent him back to his bathroom. But more stragglers, this time enough to demand another short burn. With that skirmish over, he retreated to his bathroom, this time moving a plastic chair into it to sleep on. But this was also a moment of celebration, as Dewey Gerard was finally able to craft his very first firebomb. The occupation choice didn't go to waste! Huzzah! He got in an uninterrupted night of sleep before refreshing in the morning. Jesus, Dewey! There's a sink right there! Whatever, drink your toilet water with your cheese salad. See if I care. Not yet having a backpack, Dewey was quite overloaded with the junk he had collected, so he purged a lot of it onto the floor of his tiny little safe house before heading back out to the burned out grocery store. And it was here, on July 12, 1993, while kneeling amongst the charred remnants of the Nourish Food Mart, that Mr. Dewey Gerard ate 3,000 calories worth of mayonnaise in a single sitting. The mad lad just slurped down a whole pint of mayonnaise like it was nothing. Raging off the pure mayonnaise energy, he returned to the laundromat and continued north, where he used the mayonnaise high to bash his way through the locked door of this service shed. Inside, he found a hammer and saw, the essential tools of carpentry. But as I just said, he still doesn't have a backpack, so those tools overloaded him. The decision was made to abandon the tools for now. But since I really needed a backpack, and one can't live off of mayonnaise alone, I needed to go on a mission for both. The residential neighborhood just west of the field I had just torched was a perfect place to acquire both. So I set out and tried to pull as many zombies into the field as I could to burn them all up, while hopefully not taking down the town with it. After 2 more fire sessions and an additional 620 more crispy zombies, Dewey had his access to the residential homes and a bulletproof vest. The first house yielded some food and a roll of toilet paper, but then the sounds of stragglers started to fill the air. But that didn't dissuade Dewey from roasting some chicken and spending the night in a real bed for once. When the sun rose, he set back out. The next house over also felt the wrath of Dewey's firestorm, but he searched it anyway, only to find nothing. He then drew the attention of more stragglers and fled the neighborhood, stopping to steal gas from his truck and to make more Molotovs and firebombs. Then he ate all the stale pastries he could find in his bakery and cooked up a dozen eggs for the road. As you may have guessed, more stragglers appeared, and more zombies had migrated back into the scorched area, so it once again was time for a mass burning, and this time it was starting with a firebomb. Oh, look how much fire it makes. But within those flames, Dewey noticed the first to catch fire was wearing a pretty sweet duffel bag. He didn't expect it, but perchance there would be an opportunity to grab it before the zombie turned to ash. Well, shit! It had to be almost dead, and by pure luck, it had broken away from the horde. Oh, the moment of truth. Oh no, so close. But alas, the fiery dance continues, duffelless. "12 hours and 230 dead later, the dance wrapped up. Time for Dewey to take refuge and get some sleep in a newly conquered home.
Oh, shit!
Well, not that home. He did find a duffel bag in the closet though, so the mission was a success, but he really needed a place to sleep. But sleep would not come quickly because, as you've probably guessed, more stragglers. I tried leading them into the field. I tried breaking their legs so they couldn't chase me. But every time I tried to stealth away from a group that was hunting me, more stragglers. I thought maybe I could go back to the laundromat to sleep, but more zombies had migrated into my original kill zone. I really wanted to get to a safe spot so I could sleep in real life, so I kept attempting stealth. But at some point I forgot that I was holding onto a firebomb while I attempted to shove a zombie to the ground. Damn it. A squandered resource that ultimately only killed 3 zombies. But I did eventually sneak my way back to the laundromat bathroom to get a night's rest and grow a sexy new beard. My new goal was to acquire the carpentry tools I found in this shed and hit this bar just north of it. The bar will be full of glass bottles to turn into more Molotovs and should have enough furniture to disassemble that I should yield a couple of planks, even with my level 1 skill. Planks which I think will help with the stragglers. More on that later. As for now, I needed to do some more burning. What is the Green Bay Packer doing all the way down in Louisville? Well, sadly, I was never able to read the number off the jersey to know exactly who I burned to ash. But this burn ended up lasting 12 hours, so Dewey was once again spent after the flames died down. So back into the hole he went for a nap. The next morning, I finally had the idea of turning on this car's siren to draw everything nearby towards it. And draw them it did. This horse also finally proved to me something that I've suspected to be true. That, being that a zombie on fire that isn't dead won't catch another zombie on fire. The flame needs to jump to the ground before it can be picked up by another not burning zombie. See these two here? Not spreading. As soon as one of them lights the ground on fire, oof. But the siren was a blessing. Now if I sprint away from the horde, as they lose sight of me, they turn their attention back to the blaring siren and return to it to group up and burn out. This offered me enough breathing room to do some carpentry in the burned out buildings. There was still one goober trapped in the tavern, so I just snuck in quickly and grabbed some empties to make some more Molotovs. The siren shut off, so I did a small manual burn before heading back to bed. A new day and I turned the siren back on and threw down some flames to get the party started. With that trap doing its job for me down the road, I was finally able to start tearing the bar apart.
Let me have a rule and a saw and a board and I'll cut. Climb up a ladder with a hammer and a nail and I'll nail it. Well, we worked so hard to build a little house together. In the snow, the rain, or the ice cold wind, whenever.
The work was going well and yielded me several planks until... but I just needed to get that zombie within earshot of the siren before ditching it. Easy peasy. I went back to the bar and bang banged until I got to level 2 carpentry. Mission accomplished. I returned to the manhole. Using those planks that I was after, I had crafted some campfire materials. Campfire materials that I hoped would be my salvation in a world of stragglers. The next day, Dewey set out with a plan. A plan to finally get out of the discomfort of the bathroom and get set up into a proper home. A proper home with a proper bed. A proper home where he can cook some nice meals instead of gorging on mayonnaise by the tubful. The siren was blaring, so he sent some fires its way to keep that party going and returned to the residential area. Progressing deeper into the neighborhood, he found a car. Smashing the window to gain entry, he laid on the horn to bring out all the nearby dead, and then threw a Molotov onto the ground to get the party started. Five hours later, the flames died out. It was time to enact the plan. He used the materials to set up a campfire on the opposite side of the road from a house that he wanted. Now all it takes to get a zombie started on fire with a campfire is a few squares of toilet paper and some matches. And unlike the Molotovs and microwaves, it is totally reusable. So the plan was simple. Investigate the house, and if anything is in there still straggling, just use the campfire to sustainably take care of them. Into the breach he went, and out of the breach he came with a few friends in tow. Into the breach he went, and out of the breach he came with a few friends in tow. Into the breach he went, and out of the breach he came with a few friends in tow. Into the breach he went,
Oh my god!
and out of the breach he came with a few friends in tow. Into the breach he went, and out of the breach he came with a few friends in tow. It takes like an entire in-game hour to fully burn a zombie to death, so this was starting to really get annoying. But after the 5th group of stragglers, the house was now clean and Dewey could finally lay his head down on a proper bed again for some proper sleep. The next day, excited over the idea of finally being able to have a home day to decompress just a little bit, Dewey got to work closing the curtains for privacy and... damn it. Now, finally, he can lock himself into his new home and cook a... Oh, come on! After 7 small burns to take care of the stragglers, he finally had the house to himself. For real this time. He prepared a succulent meal of shrimp and veggie stir-fry with a side of grape salad, and then he spent some relaxing time studying about carpentry. After 12 days of jogging around the burning undead and sleeping in a plastic chair in a laundromat bathroom, this moment of reprieve did good to soothe the soul of Mr. Gerard. He felt fully relaxed and went to bed hoping to wake up peaceful and energized. But that didn't happen as the undead found their way into his new home. So once again, it was time to ignite the bonfire and do the dance he's danced so many times before. So I mentioned earlier the tidbit of a walking zombie on fire not setting other zombies on fire. Because of this, the strategy that has evolved is to not merely ball up the flaming zombies, but to also navigate from small ground fire to small ground fire in order to make the unflamed walkover to keep the fire burning. But as in all things Zomboid, every action has a bit of risk involved. And even if the risk is tiny, if you roll the dice enough times, your luck is going to run out. And when your luck runs out, you don't notice that the one big flame you are trying to navigate behind is actually 2 tiles of flames. The flames that engulfed Dewey only lasted but a moment and weren't enough to be outright lethal, but the pain inflicted to his leg was enough to remove any swiftness from his gait. With this crippled leg and inability to jog, it was only a matter of yards before the flaming horde of his own making caught up. And this time, my friends, the infection was passed along to old Dewey this day. Well, that certainly was an experience. Playing with fire sure is fun, but oh my! Allowing only fire certainly compounded the tedium of Project Zomboid. But I'm not ruling out trying this again once Build 42 drops, just to see if any possible changes in the fire mechanics makes this more or less chaotic. But if I do, I totally need to add some sort of rules to help clear out stragglers, but also without just turning it into a standard playthrough of just meleeing everything. But don't worry, I already have an idea for this, and I think will be both balanced and silly. But until that day, which may never happen, arrives, there should be some other fun videos I've made on the screen. Why not stick around and watch another? Dewey would have wanted it that way.